Here are some key signs to look out for if you are oblivious to what is going on around you or in perpetual denial of what is going on in your friend groups or just with people in general, to be able to determine whether you are being manipulated or involved in triangulation. When you're being talked about but not to. And here's the difference. You could even be in the circle, and instead of talking to you about something, they speak to somebody else, which is really passive aggression. They speak to somebody else instead of talking to you. And even if they are addressing you, there is an underlying conversation with the other people around that they have already discussed, and it's now coming to your attention. And then of course the obvious is if they're talking about you behind your back. Key red flag for triangulation is the whispers behind your back, the things that they are saying when you are not present and in the room. But you will feel a shift in energy because now there are preconceived notions, there are ideas that have formulated in their mind, you're just not aware of it. You hear about issues secondhand instead of hearing directly from the person. So for example, in the situation that I was in, I did not know anything about how this one particular person felt. But when I brought up how I was feeling based on multiple occurrences that transpired over a long span of time, suddenly I was now made aware that that person thought that I disliked them. But that wasn't the case. In truth, they actually did not like me and was finding reasons to point out whatever nonsense that they were pointing out. And quite frankly, the excuses that they used to try to back up their reason for me not liking them, it was not mathing, it was not adding up, it didn't make any sense. But they were planting seeds. And that's also a form of triangulation because now they are creating the bystander to be their character witness. So when they're talking about you to somebody else and you're not in the circle, and they're planting these seeds of doubt, whether it be that they're saying that you are jealous, you're too sensitive, or you're difficult, these are also red flags in triangulation and manipulation. It's also gossip, let's be for real. And they can be whispering things like, I don't think she really likes you, or I don't think that she likes me. But in reality, they are projecting how they feel onto you and making you the bad person. When there are backhanded compliments or passive aggressive statements, you're fit, you look good, but instead of saying that, they'll look for some flaw and then point that out instead of just saying you look good. They'll make comments about your looks, your lifestyle, your choices, all the things that they themselves are not implementing, or even if it's not their preference, which is cool, but instead they're making jokes about how you are living your life, how you choose to move, how you choose to present and appear in this world. They are making judgments and jokes about that. But what that's doing is really breaking down your persona. It's breaking down your image in the eyes of the people that are around. For example, my ability to be able to speak, I am an orator, and that's what I do. I speak to people and I help and teach people. So for someone to make a joke that I always have something to say, it actually speaks to their disdain for me being the speaker that I am. They're poking fun at something that I use for employment. When you are being ostracized or there's subtle exclusions, then there's excuses for it. If there is something that's planned, or if you guys are going out, if there's a group chat and you're not included, this is intentional. It is not by mistake, it is by design. And they will reference things that are discussed that you are not there for. They'll reference things in a group chat, for example, that you are not included, but it will be referenced in public, so that way you are now publicly ostracized. You don't know what's going on and you're seeking to be able to fit in or be in the loop. It's like a perpetual cycle of low-key trying to degrade your self-esteem or to make you feel insecure in some way because that's how they feel on a regular basis. They will pit people against each other. So if there's something that they find between the two that is differing, they will then bring that or call that into attention, and that is a form of pitting somebody against each other. For example, when people bring in horoscopes, like I love the whole horoscope and zodiac thing, but what I don't like is when people try to have some sort of proximity or align themselves with other people because of the zodiac sign. So for example, my friend was a particular sign, I am a particular sign, and the person would call into question how we were friends and how we were friends for so long because we had such opposing views or different personalities. And they will also triangulate conflict so that way they can avoid accountability. So instead of resolving conflict with you, they will bring other people in to support them in whatever it is that they are trying to achieve, or just to support their irrational thinking and behavior. And unfortunately, it is a weak person that will fall in line with that and agree with that and fall for that. So for me, when this person was whispering in my friend's ear, instead of it being brought to my attention, nobody said anything. And I'm just moving in this circle, feeling the weird stuff that's going on, but I couldn't quite put my finger on it because nothing was ever brought to my attention. However, if I had an issue, I was trying to be able to mitigate whatever it was because I wanted to resolve things. I wanted accountability if there was a part that I played in anything, but that wasn't the case. It wasn't extended for me when it came to these other people. They might also say one thing to one person and another thing to somebody else. It's something that I experienced in my mother with her parenting. She did this a lot with my siblings. It was definitely triangulation. She would call one of us, and even when I wasn't nearby, she would call me to complain about my sibling and my not having both parts. Her goal was for me to formulate and side with her, to formulate an opinion based on what she was saying and side with her instead of having the full story, so that way I can make a sound decision. The most insidious one is where they will mimic closeness to build some form of intimacy so that you feel like this is genuine connection, but it's actually love bombing with a goal to be able to draw you in close, to which they can later use to their advantage. So the love bombing might seem, the emotions might seem very intense, but there's no real closeness because they're still pretty much guarding themselves. They're just breadcrumbing different things to make you feel like there is a closeness. When you are constantly questioning yourself, and this is not just in friend groups, this is also just in all relationships. When you're constantly questioning yourself, this is a sign that you have been gaslit, that you are struggling with your intuition as opposed to seeing it for what it is. Once you find yourself beginning to doubt yourself, beginning to doubt your memory and the things that have transpired, you want to definitely take a step back, take stock, and trust your intuition and your gut with what your body is telling you. They will often claim victimhood, but barely ever accountability. So in every story that they're telling, they are always the victim. The person is always doing something to them. It's always happening to them, as opposed to maybe choices and decisions that they're putting themselves into, or even not honoring themselves and their boundaries enough to walk away from something that is not serving them. There's always going to be a story where somebody wronged them. It's always some nonsense. It's always drama, as one will say. And I'm going to be honest, when I was in that period of time that I was going through a lot of drama and conflict, I definitely saw myself as the victim. But once I wanted to heal and grow from that, I had to abandon that idea of me being a victim, recognize the choices that I was making that was putting me in those situations, and do better. And that's another thing that you want to look for. When they see your growth and evolution as some sort of superiority complex, when in fact you're just minding your own business and living your life, you have their own standards for yourself. But when they see that as you think you're better than, or they see that as, or don't agree with those decisions, you will then be disliked, hated, attacked for that. And the last one is the energy changes. It shifts when you enter the room or there is any attention put on you. Energy does not lie. When you catch those glances and those glimpses between the two, right? That when something with you is involved, when you walk into a room that had chatter and suddenly it is quiet, there is something you want to take note of. When you catch that sneer, okay, there is a distinct stare and look that envious, jealous, and hateful people will have when they are staring at someone they do not like. And this girl on TikTok did it. It was perfect how she did it, but it's a slight tilt of the upper lip, almost a grimace. Like there's a slight disgust because the envy is so fucking strong. You really want to be mindful of this. Be mindful of people that stare at you and there's no love or joy in their eyes when they are staring. A reminder is that healthy friendships feel safe. You will leave the company of those people feeling full, rejuvenated, joyful, looking forward to the next time that you will connect with them. You're not going to feel less than. You're not going to feel icky. You're not going to feel like you may have betrayed yourself in how you were in that circle. You're going to feel whole. You're going to feel safe, and you're going to feel good when you are around people who are your people. If you feel like you are in a mind game, trust yourself and end the game.